Today we are going to get right into learning about order of operations. Order of operations is the most fundamental of all arithmetic rules. If you are studying to take the SAT and really a lot of different types of math exams, this is typically expected to know when you are about to take an exam. Order of operations is simply a set of math rules that tell you which operations to start with that way. When we all solve the problem, we will all come up with the same answer. There is a set of steps you would need to take in order for everyone to come up with the same answer. The first step is to work with parentheses or brackets. The next step is exponents. Next step is multiplication and division. And lastly, addition and subtraction. Let's start with parentheses and brackets. Parentheses are symbols that look like this, and they are used to group numbers and operations together. What do I mean by operations? When I say operations, I am referring to performing multiplication, division, addition, and or subtraction. So for an example, if we have a simple math problem like 105 minus 5, the operation we are performing is subtraction. When you are using parentheses, there should always be an open and closed parenthesis for every problem. And inside of the parenthesis will consist of numbers and operations that can look like this. If you look at brackets, brackets work the same way as parentheses, but instead of the symbols looking like this, the symbols look more boxy. And by the way, brackets should not be confused with absolute symbols. If we use absolute symbols, the ending result should give you a positive number. So for an example, if we was to solve the absolute value of negative 2 times 5 plus 8, we will get 2. However, if we use brackets or parentheses, we will get a negative 2. If you need any additional help with that, definitely let me know in comment section. So parentheses and brackets are used to group things together, and the order of operations rules tell us to perform everything in the parentheses and brackets first. For an example, let's take this problem. It has 2 operations and 3 numbers. When we solve this problem, it's important to look at this math problem from left to right to first find that parenthesis. In this problem, 1 and 5 are in a parenthesis, so therefore we will solve this part of the problem first. If we add these numbers together, we will get 6. Once we have a single number, we can safely drop the parenthesis. If we continue to solve this problem, we will get 42. What if we have more than one parenthesis like this? Fortunately, it doesn't matter which parenthesis you do first. The main goal is to follow the math rule, and that is to do everything in parenthesis first. So let's continue to work left to right to make this an easy process. If we simplify 3 minus 1, we get 2. If we simplify 5 times 2, we get 10. Next, we can safely drop these parentheses, and we will get 2 plus 10, which is 12. The next rule is exponents. Exponents are just a way to write repeated multiplication. So for an example, if we have 3 times 3, we can write it as 3 being multiplied 2 times. If we have 10 times 10 times 10, we can write it as 10 being multiplied 3 times. The smaller number here is called an exponent or power. It just tells you how many times the number is being multiplied. So for an example, this power here is 3, and we will call this 10 to the power of 3. So after we have taken care of parenthesis, simplifying exponents is the next step. For example, let's take this problem. 2 times 3 to the power of 2. Let's again look left and right. Here there are no parentheses, so the next step is to search for exponents. Here we have an exponent here, which is 2 in this case. We will need to do 3 to the power of 2 first, which will give us 9, because here we are multiplying 3 2 times since 2 is the exponent. After that, we will multiply 2 times 9, which will give us 18 as a final answer. One thing I should mention is that sometimes you will get problems that are a little more complicated, such as this problem. In this case, we will continue to work left to right, and we will continue to first look for parentheses, which we have here. For the time being, you can safely ignore the rest of the problem. Here we have 2 to the power of 2 times 3. We will do 2 times 2, which is 4, and then multiply the 4 times 3, which is 12. Then we will drop the parenthesis and add the 3, which will give us a final answer of 15. The next rules we have is multiplication and division. It's extremely important, again, extremely important to know that multiplication and division are equally important, meaning that multiplication does not come before division and division does not come before multiplication. There is a reason why I mentioned that when you solve a problem, you work left to right, because if a problem consists of multiplication and division, whichever operation that is on the left is the first problem you will have to solve. So, for example, let's take 10 divided by 2 times 3. If we solve this problem, we will solve 10 divided by 2, which will give us 5, and then we will multiply the 5 times the 3 and get 15. Let's switch this up. Let's say instead of solving 10 divided by 2 times 3, we solve the 3 times 2 divided by 10. Again, if we work left to right, we will solve 3 times 2 first, and we will get 6, and then we will be left with a final answer of a fraction, which is 6 over 10, which simplifies down to 3 over 5, which is 0.6 as a decimal. Also, if you're interested, I can make a video on simplifying fractions. Just be sure to let me know in the comments section. The last rule we have is addition and subtraction. This is extremely important as well. These operations are equally important, again, meaning that you do not always have to solve addition before subtraction, and you do not always have to solve subtraction before addition. Whatever operation that is furthest to the left is the very first operation you will need to solve when you are dealing with a problem that has addition and subtraction. We again need to work left to right. Let's say we have 8 plus 1 minus 2. We will again work left to right. 8 plus 1 is 9. And then we will do 9 minus 2, which will give us 7. Let's change this up a bit. Let's say we have 2 minus 1 plus 8. 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. And then we will add the 1 to 8 and get a final value of 9. Let's look at this problem. 15 divided by 5 plus 7. If we work left to right and look at order of operations, we know that in the order of operations, multiplication and division comes before addition and subtraction. So 15 divided by 5 is the correct operation to start with, and then we get 3, and when we add 3 and 7 together, we will get 10 as the final result. For extra credit, let's take a look at a more complicated problem. Here we have 2 times 5 minus 1, which are in brackets, plus negative 6 divided by 2 times 4, which are in parentheses. Pause the video now to see if you can solve, and it's okay if you do not get this right. I will soon make a video to show a list of math problems that should prepare you for the worst. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, there is no difference between brackets and parentheses, and it would be easier to just think of brackets as parentheses. So it does not matter if we solve the brackets or parentheses, so let's start with the brackets. In the brackets we have 2 times 5 minus 1. I want you to imagine first that this is the only problem in the math problem. Here we have multiplication and subtraction. In our order of operations, what comes next in this case is multiplication. Multiply 2 times 5 and we will get 10, and then 10 minus 1 and we will get 9. Then we can drop the parenthesis or bracket once we have a single number. Then now we are left with this. What comes first in order of operations is parenthesis, so we will solve everything in that parenthesis first. Here we have negative 6 divided by 2 times 4. When we are working left to right in the parenthesis, we get negative 3, and then multiply this by 4 and we get negative 12, and then when we add the negative 12 to the 9, we will get a final value of negative 3. An easy way to memorize the order of operations is to memorize the phrase, "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." The first letter of each word corresponds to parenthesis, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Or if you want, you can make up any phrase that would help you to memorize the order of operations. Very soon I will make a video to test your understanding of this topic, so be on the lookout for that video. If you found value in this video, be sure to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Be safe, everyone.